Greetings. In this video we will demonstrate setting up the Ion desktop client to connect to a Ignition Standard Edition and or Ignition Enterprise Edition server using the advanced setup. Typically the advanced setup is reserved for people using the Enterprise Edition or people who are advanced enough in the Standard Edition to understand the system settings and what ramifications can occur. When the new connection wizard dialog box appears, you'll be presented with three choices. Selecting the advanced setup will allow you to perform the advanced setup. As with the easy setup, you'll be presented with the connection name and connection descriptor. In the connection description, that's optional. You can specify whatever you want to or nothing. And in the connection name, typically you'd want to give some type of minor description that will show up during the connection. Since we're connecting to a test server, we will specify test server. Again, you can specify whatever you want. Next, we are able to add multiple addresses into the system. Typically, with the Ion desktop client in an enterprise environment, you'll be connecting to multiple servers, and the servers could be geographically spread out. By adding all of the addresses of the server that you can connect to in here, the Ion desktop client will choose the connection with the lowest latency and therefore logically the closest server to perform its connection. As before, you'll be presented with a dialog box for an address or URL. The address could be in the form of an IP address or name that could be resolved to an IP address. The connection can also have a colon and port number specified on the end if the port has been changed from the default, which is 310. A URL schema of ion : / can optional be specified as well. In our case, we'll be specifying a server over a remote connection that's a virtual private network. So the server's internal address is specified. As you'll see, the address now appears in the list. We could, in theory, add multiple addresses to this list. And they would all be connected to, and the connection with the lowest latency will be used for purposes of the actual connection. For our sake, we'll go ahead and remove these other two connections by checking their boxes and clicking the remove option. The checkboxes next to the addresses are not used to denote whether a connection is enabled or not enabled for that address. Instead, what it's used for is purely for the remove operation. As before with the easy setup, you can store the credentials of the user who's logging in into the Ion configuration file. This Ion configuration file is found in the documents folder of the currently logged in user. The password is set through several layers of security and therefore is not viewable by a layperson. However, somebody with the proper skill set and determination would be able to extract the password from the user account if given enough time and resources. For that purposes, if you specify a connection name and password in here, a prompt will warn you that the information is not entirely secure. For our purposes, we'll be leaving this information box empty, which will then cause the connection to prompt for the user credentials upon connection. Here we can set up an icon for the connection. Typically, the first icon on the list is the typical icon specified for the connection. You can open up your own PNG and import it. For the purposes of this demonstration, since our connection is only temporary, we'll use the TrashCon icon. When specifying a connection, you can optionally turn encryption or compression off or on, depending on what you feel that is necessary for your environment. While using a VPN, typically most people would want to turn encryption off, as that will save CPU resources both on the server and on the client. However, enabling encryption typically doesn't add that much overhead. In addition, some network infrastructures with WAN accelerators or intrusion prevention systems or things of that nature can have difficulties with the Ion encryption and attempts to decode the individual packets, therefore slowing down network communication. If you are in such a situation, you may want to disable it.